good morning, afternoon, or evening, or for those of you listening overnight, go to sleep. This is another episode of Two Noobs Talking. It's episode 112. And you may notice that John is here, Mr. John Tracy. I am here. I am Mr. Steve the Muscle Man Murray. But Matt Craig is nowhere to be found. John, why is that?
Well, received a message earlier in the week that said that Matt was a community guidelines violation of TikTok for truth and prosperity or whatever the fuck they said. I didn't pay attention to exactly what they said because they're fucking ridiculous. But yes, he is in the vault of TikTok, and they will not let him out until we rectify this situation.
So we have to have him issue an apology. Am I assessing that correctly?
Yes.
Very good. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and bring him in to issue that apology?
Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Craig, if you would, I understand you have a prepared statement that you would like to read.
Yes, indeed I have.
And you feel sorry for these actions?
Yes. I feel incredibly sorry. I feel... first of all, really, gentlemen, I want to apologize. I feel very sorry. Terribly sorry. Horribly sorry.
You want to apologize, or you do apologize?
I would like to apologize.
I see. Okay.
I see.
Objection.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but let's go for it.
I would like to apologize to our TikTok overlords. Clearly, because they have no sense of humor. They have no sense of sarcasm. They have no sense of silliness, whimsy, banter, jesting, and comicality. And with that, gentlemen, I yield the time back to you.
Well, that sounded like a very nice apology, Mr. Craig. However, the point of this hearing is to go over your repeated violations of misinformation on this program. We need to get to the bottom of why you continue to provide false and misleading information to the viewers and listeners of Two Noobs Talking. That is the point of this hearing, sir. And I think that we need to discuss this in all seriousness. For example, have you or have you not in the past on this program indicated that TikTok is owned by a company in China?
I cannot confirm nor deny I ever made that accusation, Mr. Murray.
I would just like to step in and say that it actually is owned by a company in China.
That is notwithstanding the good senator from Texas, Mr. Tracy. On the floor.
I will never be a senator in Texas.
Facts have nothing to do with this hearing. Nothing at all. Mr. Craig, have you or have you not promoted the fact that the Earth is round when you, in fact, know that it is indeed a cube?
I can neither confirm nor deny that I've made such accusatory statements in that regard.
Are you taking the Fifth Amendment, sir?
Yes, I am.
Do you plan to take the Fifth Amendment for all of the statements that going on in this hearing?
It really depends.
Matt, go Fauci on him. Go Fauci on him.
Mr. Craig, have you or have you not introduced on this program on at least 2 occasions a gentleman as Macho Man whom you know for a fact is not macho in the least?
Well, first of all, I believe he's deceased, so I don't know who that person might be who is claiming to be Macho Man, but I will say unequivocally that I throw my 100% support for Illinois Smith for President of the United States in 2024.
Playing politics will not save you in this hearing, Mr. Craig. I've been recalled. Thank you, gentlemen. That concludes this hearing.
Johnny, how does it feel to be a part of now a podcast where we have been officially flagged for community guidelines violation?
Yeah, we set out to do that, so it's happened more than once.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's been great.
Let me actually speak on the whole thing. The community guidelines violation was, just to catch everyone up to speed. Matt made a joke about the segment of the show was brought to you by Moderna and Pfizer. The only thing that TikTok was saying is that was untrue. They weren't flagging anything else in that video at all. And for the laughable part, they still have a video up on TikTok of the exact same thing in a different format, and they have not. I appealed it. They have not come back with their result of the appeal.
So, as I understand it, Matt can lie in 16:9, but not 9:16.
That's correct.
So it's vertical,
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Or 1 by 1. Yeah, 1 by 1 too. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're using the proper format that you paid for, I guess, and not creating on your own, TikTok feels perfectly okay with, that was an Instagram made out of Riverside, and that made it okay for Matt to say that. But once you take it into Adobe and create your own thing off of their video, nah, that's not okay.
Go figure. Go absolute figure on that, I guess. I don't know, but it's crazy. And
yes, it is.
Yeah.
We will continue to post our thoughts. Don't worry. Like, we're not stopped. Like, this is laughable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's laughable.
I love it. Gentlemen, why don't we just go ahead and continue on with our episode, and let's introduce our first topic.
Fun fact before topic.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we got to do this fun fact. We got to get that down into the doldrums of. So I was watching a Sixers game the other day, and they threw a stat out that I was blown away by. And I did a little bit of research, and I was like, wow, that is actually a pretty cool fact that maybe nobody knows. So apparently, Tyrese Maxey leads the league this year in miles run.
Wow.
With 2.9 miles for the season.
Wow.
Well, maybe it's per game. No, it's per game. I apologize. It's per game. So he runs 2.9 miles per game.
Wow.
So I thought about this, and I was like, that court's not that big. So the court is 94 by 50.
Interesting. 94 feet by 50 feet wide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he runs 2.9 miles per game.
5,280 feet in a mile, of course.
And I think it's over 15,000. It's 15,313 for the entire game.
Wow.
You said how 94 feet?
Yes, it's 94 by 50.
Feet.
Yeah, 90. So that's like that. If math off the top of my head, I think it's like 186 times that he runs back and forth. If you do that.
I just checked to run 1 mile on the court. If you went back and forth the long way, you'd have to go back and forth over 56 times.
Wow.
So yeah, that makes 180-ish.
Yeah, so I think he runs 180-ish times. So he's running. He leads the league. He literally is the league leader in miles per game. It's an actual stat the NBA holds.
That's amazing. Wow. I would have never guessed that, to be honest with you guys.
No,
I would have.
It stopped me. I was watching the game, and I was doing other things. I was doing two Noob stuff. I'm just sitting at the computer, and they said it, and I'm like, hold up. Like, I paused it immediately. I was like, hold up. Like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
That's close to 3 miles a game.
That's just nuts. Wow. I mean, it makes me wonder, too, guys, like, in terms of hockey, that's 200 feet by...
I would love to see who the league leader in that. I haven't delve into that, but that is. I'd love to see who's the Iron Man, who can go
Yeah.
Behind
that
the net over and over again.
My guess would have to be a center because
It would absolutely, yeah.
The D doesn't usually go end to end, nor do the wings, so it would have to be a center.
Yeah.
But you're also only playing a forward. Probably only plays a premier forward probably plays 24, 25 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And
Maxi's probably doing 36, 38.
Yeah,
he's over 35, consistent.
But you're also talking double the amount of in terms of feet. Basketball 94, hockey 200, so it's like more than double the amount of a basketball court. So depending on that and times, wow.
To
That's crazy.
Maxi's, he's running that. He's not skating it.
Yeah.
And we all know you can coast a little bit when you skate. Like you're you're getting your thighs in there, but I mean, like him with basketball, he is running.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can coast when you're on skates. That's why one of us has man boobs, and the other two sitting right here are not complaining about that.
That is true. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I don't think any of us, if hockey entailed us running all the time, I don't think any of us would have played hockey.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Hard on the knees.
All right, gents. Well, let's go ahead then and just dive right into the first topic. And we don't have anything, again, we don't have any articles planned on this, but it is a tremendous step forward by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, otherwise known as NASA.
Not if you ask me.
Really? Not if you... Okay, well, I won't ask you then. We're talking about Artemis.
The shuttles.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of weird. But with that being said, Artemis I launched, I believe it was late last week, gentlemen,
November
memory serves me
16th,
right.
2022.
There you go.
2 delays.
Yep, after 2 delays of fuel leaking out of everything.
Yeah.
Well, another one was hurricane related, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it was close to
yeah,
hurricane,
yeah.
and they didn't want to give it a chance or anything of that sort. So
They probably did that because they wanted you to forget about the 2 fuel leaks that were happening.
yeah, exactly. I have a video that I'm going to show on screen of the actual launch as we're talking about this, gentlemen. And
Awesome.
wanted to kind of get your thoughts, John, with you first. Historic, obviously, because this sets the stage for Artemis 2 and then 3.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on this? This is probably one of the
couple stats before thoughts. Just so the people that don't know about Artemis, it is pretty groundbreaking. They're going to try to do something. It's moon to Mars, so they're trying to do something that is never been done. Absolutely, Steve's right. Using shuttles probably would be easier, but they're using rockets. Just this mission alone, just to keep it in tight with this, is the mission's going to last 25 days, 11 hours, and 36 minutes. It'll be back. Splashdown is recorded for December 11th. So that'll be back. Real quick, the total distance they're going to travel, which is funny that we just did the Maxi thing. They're gonna travel 1,300,000 miles in this trip, and this is an unmanned trip. This trip will be Artemis 2 will be just a regurgitated version of this. They're just doing it all over again. This is the test mission to see if you can actually put people on there. Historically, I think it's cool. Anytime they try to launch anything anywhere, I think it's cool. Other than if you're Elon Musk, I don't like you launching anything. But when other people other than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos launch things, I like it.
So they have a history of doing it.
I don't like those two guys doing it. It makes no sense.
It's an amazing achievement already in this regard. Just the fact that they're now heading back to the moon after more than 60 some odd years, or maybe 50 some odd years, when the first Apollo of course landed on the moon all those years ago in the 60s. So to be able to go back, and now they're essentially circling the moon. I think it's, if I remember correctly, 38,000 feet above the moon. as they navigate around it and slingshot around it. And then it'll eventually come home, to John's point. Just to test to see if they can do this. And
That's
it's
the
just
source
amazing.
of my frustration.
So share your thoughts, Steve.
Okay.
What are your thinkings here?
John and I talked about this briefly in pre-production, and you've used the similar language. That they're testing to see if they can do this. We've already freaking landed on the moon.
Yeah.
We know we can orbit it. Why do we need to go through this rigmarole again?
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
We know we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done before. Why do we need to test it again? And we're going back, they call it a gumdrop shaped capsule, to the point about the shuttles.
Is bizarre.
I wouldn't say doing it with the shuttle would be easier, but we've talked about it on the show before. With this, you're going backwards in technology to when you had guys in a freaking bean can with nowhere to go to go to the moon. We worked on space shuttles for decades. Why is that technology not transferable? I mean, maybe it's fuel issues, but
there's probably
makes me wonder about the moon itself. Maybe it's too rough to have a space shuttle land on it, because then you got to have a smooth surface on the moon and you got to make sure that it's secured, obviously, because it's 1/6 of Earth's gravity. So you're kind of, is it going to stay put? Basically, I think it will. But
I
don't think it's going to hop off the moon.
There's
some gravity there, and that massive an object, it's probably not going anywhere if you kick it by accident.
Yeah, exactly. What would think? Yeah, exactly. That would be hilarious though, to see this space shuttle just kind of hovering off the surface of the moon.
Whoops.
Oh crap! There goes $85 billion out of the. It's like crap. We can't get this back.
To Steve's point, he makes a brilliant point. But to counteract that point, it's very simple. New people are in charge, and they think they know what they're doing. That's basically what it. Remember, NASA was defunded for a long time, so this is a whole new regime that is coming in now, with NASA being funded as well as it is now. Because it was very underfunded for a really long time. Maybe they don't have that ability to go backwards, because who knows?
Okay, counterpoint. You just proved at NASA that you could hit a 500-foot wide asteroid 7 million miles away from Earth directly. I think you can circle the moon.
I think so too, but that would be the only logical point. Is different people are in charge and they're trying a different way. And also, this isn't the moon landing. They're not trying to duplicate the moon landing. What they're trying to do is this project is considered Moon to Mars. This isn't a hey, we landed on the moon, here's our flag, we'll dance around for a little bit. This is literally, we need the moon to get to Mars, so we got to figure out how to do that.
Well, explain to me, because I honestly have not followed it closely enough. Explain to me what this has to do with that. Orbiting the moon, unless you're just doing it to build a slingshot effect.
Basically, that is literally what they're doing. But they're going to do the point is they're going to do some research on the moon while they're constructing this. They're doing twofold. It's like when you send an employee to do something, you're like, oh, well, he's going to pass by this, so he could do this while he's doing that. So it's just they're doing more work, more scientific work with the moon. While it's not a technical moon landing, the Orion is going to orbit. It's going to be able to put people on the moon to do that, but it's also going to be used later. Hopefully, I have very, very little hope that they're going to be able to catapult to Mars. I don't think it's going to work, but that's just me. But the Orion thing that is going to be orbiting the moon, that's what they're going to use to catapult to Mars. I don't think they've thought that far. I think they're just kind of getting up there, figuring it out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. I forget how many miles it is from the Earth to the moon. I want to say it's, 200? It's not 200,000 miles, right? I don't think that's right.
I think it's in that vicinity.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
something
Correctly.
like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that. The moon?
93 million from Earth to the Sun is the one I always remember. I always forget.
I forget
The distance, yeah. So from the moon to Mars, just looked it up, in miles, 48,917,059 miles from the moon to Mars. Or
I would think
78,000
it should be a
kilometers.
range
78
in
million
there.
kilometers.
Yeah.
Good.
There ought to be a range because depending on where Mars and Earth are in their orbit to the Sun,
Yes.
that's going to change
Yes.
significantly.
Very much so.
Just a quick Google search. The moon, Earth to moon is 2,308,000, almost 239,000.
Oh, 239,000 miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your numbers were all over the place. 239,000
Yeah, I was trying to read
Okay.
it by looking forward. Yeah, it's like 239.
Okay.
It's math.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a huge endeavor, obviously, to go that far from the moon to Mars. It's over 78 million kilometers, 48 million miles. I mean, it's an astonishing amount of travel.
And they want our astronauts to do it in the bean cans.
Well,
Yes.
it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Instead of, let's just hop on the space shuttle and see if we can get there. You know, that kind of a deal. And, we'll have to see what that goes. By the way, Mars' rotation around the sun takes about 686.98 Earth days.
Mm-hmm.
So a little over 2 years.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. A little over 2 years, exactly.
Well, that's what I mean. Depending on where they are in their travels, the Earth and the Moon could be on one side of the Sun, and Mars could be on the other side of the Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure they would schedule their trips to be when they are sort of.
I would hope.
One would hope so.
Same
Yes.
side. Let's go by the Sun while we're on our way to Mars. That's a good idea.
I would hope.
Let's fly through the sun to see if we can get to Mars. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. We
I'll
can't.
give you a guarantee. During their defunding, they probably would have tried something like that. But now that they are actually well funded, I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But step, I guess, in the right direction. Right, gentlemen? I mean, this is an
Absolutely.
interesting time.
Better than
in
a sharp stick in the
NASA.
eye.
That too. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're on to our second topic at episode 112. And if you hadn't known, maybe if you were a Starbucks drinker, pity on you, through two noobs, I guess. But Starbucks workers to strike at more than 100 U.S. stores, including 5 in the Los Angeles area. This is an article that was written
Well,
out
at this point,
KTLA.com.
at this point, those workers have struck.
That's
That was
Exactly.
That article came before the actual strike happened. and then the strike
exactly,
didn't
yeah.
happen. And now
They already
it's
fired their
reporting.
warning shot.
Exactly. Yeah. This was written on November 17th to Steve Point. Starbucks workers at more than 100 U.S. stores says they're going on strike or have struck on Thursday in what would be the largest labor action since a campaign to unionize the company's stores began late last year. Talks about strikes happening in Cypress Park, California, also downtown LA, Lakewood, Long Beach, Anaheim. The walkouts were scheduled to coincide with Starbucks' annual Red Cup Day, when the company gives free usable cups to customers who order a holiday drink. Gentlemen, workers say it's often one of the most busiest days of the year. Starbucks declined to say, however, how many Red Cups it plans to distribute. Workers say they were looking for better pay, more consistent schedules, higher staffing levels, and busy stores. The Seattle coffee giant opposes unionization,
Of course they do.
of course, saying the company functions best when it works directly with employees, which is ironic because.
Has any corporation ever been like, yeah, unionize, go for it?
Go for it.
You know,
Go for it. Put a direct person in charge that is going to monitor my fuck-ups and their fuck-ups and keep them together so that we can have a fair, just...
yeah, crazy. Seattle coffee giant has more than 9,000 company-owned stores in the United States. But stores in 25 states plan to take part in the labor action, according to the Starbucks Workers United, the group organizing the effort. Some workers plan to picket all day, others plan shorter walkouts. Union said the goal is to shut the stores down during the walkouts. Mission accomplished, pal. Willow, Montana, a shift manager at a Starbucks store in Brighton, Mass., planned to strike because Starbucks hasn't begun bargaining with the store despite a successful union vote in April. He said this, quote, "If a company won't bargain in good faith, why should we come to work where we are understaffed, underpaid, and overworked?" Very, very good question.
Willow, Montana was her name?
Willow, Montana.
Okay, because initially I was like, why are we talking about a store in Montana?
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay.
Kind of weird, yeah.
That totally seems made up.
Yeah, it's a surname. Others, including Michelle Eisen, not related to Rich Eisen, a union organizer at one.
I would hope not. He's creepy.
Yeah, he is creepy. Union organizer at one of the first stores to organize in Buffalo said workers are angry that Starbucks promised higher pay and benefits to non-union stores. That's interesting, gentlemen. Starbucks says it's following the law, can't give union stores pay hikes without bargaining. 257 257 Starbucks stores have voted to unionize since late last year. According to the National Labor Relations Board, 57 of those stores have held votes where workers opted not to unionize. Contract talks were scheduled. 13 additional sessions were scheduled, but no agreements have been reached. No surprise, the process has been contentious. Goes on to say that the NLRB, as National Labor Relations Board, has had to intervene a couple of different times in this entire thing. One of them was interesting here. In August, a federal judge ruled that Starbucks had to reinstate 7 union organizers who were fired in Memphis. Similar case in Buffalo is yet to be decided. Federal judge also ruled against the National Labor Relations Board in a case in Phoenix. So very, very interesting. Steve, I know you're not a coffee drinker.
Correct.
But what are your thoughts in regards to this entire situation? This is obviously very, very messy. Thoughts?
It's rather interesting to me that it's the unionization sort of going like store by store, because usually it's kind of like a nationwide thing, or at least a state-wide thing. The fact that the unionization is happening store by store is a little bit bizarre. But when you unionize, there is going to be trade-offs. Like you're going to lose the ability for Starbucks to kind of unilaterally give you pay hikes. So there's that. Look, unions have their place until they become too powerful and you get corrupt people like Johnny Doherty or somebody like that, doing bad things.
No,
I don't know enough about the Starbucks employee situation to know if unionization makes sense or not. But if Starbucks isn't playing by the rules with respect to the stores where the unionization is happening, then they should be called to the carpet for it, because that's not how it works in this country.
Yeah. I know, having visited Starbucks before in the past, kind of give you guys of an idea of what it looks like. Typically, you usually have maybe one, at least one barista for sure, but maybe a minimum of 2, maybe pushing 3. But then you have support staff. So you basically have 2 people behind the register. You've got 3 people basically handling drive-through orders specifically, and maybe one other person cleaning tables and things along those lines. So you're talking 6 or 7 your people. You're pretty much on your feet all day. You're not sitting down. The demand is really, really high. Even though this coffee is insanely expensive, it's like maybe $5.25 for a grande size, which is probably about your typical 20-ounce coffee. It is insane the amount of people that are working back and forth, shuttling back and forth in that regard. So I don't. Originally, I'm kind of like, unionization, but not in kind of an environment. John, I don't know about you. I would want to unionize, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I don't think they get a break all day, to be perfectly honest, unless it dies down, you're able to breathe a little bit, and you can go in the back room and just kind of just chill out for a minute.
Well, that would be against state law in all 50 states. You do have to get a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they would be breaking that. I don't think they're breaking laws like that. I just think I think Starbucks has. The reason they're meeting this unionizing is because they're meeting the same requirements as a ton of people. Walmart did this before. Target did this before. You grow so fast, you can't keep up with your employee demand because you're keeping up with your customer demand, and that pisses off your employees because you are the second. So I can see where it's coming from. If they have good leadership, these unions should be fine. But my fear is they don't have good leadership because they're doing things like, hey, let's strike on their busiest day. That'll get their attention. They already told you that you're not getting the attention. So why would you? What I would suggest in that aspect, if that ever comes up to a union, take their busiest day, smash it, make record profits, then make that phone call and be like, see, this is what we can do. Now you need to talk to us. I bet you would get a better response.
No question. That's a great strategy, Johnny. Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting because I just the other day saw an article. I don't know if you've heard about this group that's protesting about climate change and is like attacking art in museums.
Art, yeah.
You know that the connection there. It's rather strange. But there was a survey that they were asking people, does this kind of thing make you more likely to support their cause, less likely, or the same? And the number of people who said it was less likely or not going to change their mind was overwhelmingly the larger percentage. There was maybe like 15% of people would be like, yeah, I would support their cause more. But otherwise you're not changing anybody's mind or you're even making the situation worse. And I kind of agree with that. And this sort of sounds similar. Like you're striking on the biggest day. Is that going to actually bring more people to your cause or is it going to hurt it? That's an interesting thing that you brought up there. Yeah.
It is because it is kind of a catch-22. You're striking on a day that it means a lot to the company, that if that company fails, you're out of a job. So what exactly are you promoting by doing the strike on the busiest day of the year? To John's point, he's exactly right. You do the work, then you strike, then that's a totally different dynamic and totally different ballgame. Also, to John's point too, we also took a look at Starbucks' fiscal performance. And in their quarter four, we're in the middle of, typically quarter fours are like right now for a lot of companies, but Starbucks seems to be a little bit different in terms of their fiscal year. Their quarter four just ended on October 2nd, 2022. So it kind of gives you an idea. Their quarter four is basically July, August, September. So it kind of just give you guys an idea in that regard. Global comparable store sales increased 7%.
Their first quarter numbers with Christmas.
Yeah. North America and U.S. comparable store sales increased by 11% in this past quarter, I should say, driven by a 10% increase in average ticket, 1% increase in incomparable transactions. The company opened, now get this, gentlemen, 763 net new stores in this past quarter, 2022, ending the period with 35,711 stores globally. 51% of those are company operated, 49% are licensed. And you're probably thinking, well, what's the difference? What is licensed? We're thinking, right, gents? It basically, if you walk into a Target and they've got a store that has a license that sells Starbucks coffee or has Starbucks branded coffee, or you go to a Giant, same deal. There's a licensed spot. It's not an actual Starbucks store, but it's
throughout the country. You can go into supermarkets, and this is Albertsons, Kroger. They're actually one and the same now. King Soopers, Giants. There are Starbucks, Target. There are Starbucks in those stores. They are what we believe to be the licensed ones.
Yeah. Very interesting here. Consolidated net revenues up 3% or 11% on a 13-week basis to a record $8.4 billion in net revenue. $8.4 billion. That's inclusive of a 3% unfavorable impact from foreign currency transaction. That's phenomenal stuff.
Well, listen.
Their rewards loyalty program, which you can go in and basically earn points to get a free whatever. Those, again, if you're a union, this is huge. 90-day active members in the U.S. increased to 28.7 million people, up 16% year over year. Just stop to think about, Steve. Just stop to think about that. These are people walking in there wanting $5 coffees every single day, and that has only increased by this. I mean, it's crazy. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
You want my over 40 rant for the week?
Bring it on, baby.
Drug dealers make a lot of money.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
No, I'm serious.
You're 100? No, you're 100% right.
Caffeine is a drug. It's a legal drug, but it's a drug. And it's, guess what? As like any drug, it's addictive. And when you're addicted to caffeine, you're gonna be willing to, spend more money than a single person would.
Don't forget about sugar too, because that is definitely Starbucks is in the two-deal drug deal. They'll give you caffeine and sugar, which will make you more addicted.
Heck yeah. Right? Howard Schultz, the interim chief executive officer, gentlemen. Do you want me to speak in nasally terms, or do you want me to normal terms here? Okay, normal. Okay.
He probably speaks like a douchebag, and you can't do that. So you don't speak that tongue.
We saw accelerating demand for Starbucks coffee around the world in Q4 and throughout the year. Our Q4 results demonstrate early evidence of the success of our U.S. reinvention investments. Reinvention will touch and elevate every aspect of our Starbucks partner, customer, and store experiences, and ideally position Starbucks to deliver accelerated, sustainable, long-term, profitable growth and value creation. What the hell does that even mean? Beginning in 2023.
You did not speak actual words.
No, he did not. It was just buzzwords.
I was just no words there.
I was just picturing Ian McKellen in Lord of the Rings picking up the ring and or Frodo picking up the ring and saying, "Oh, it's some sort of douchebag." Just reading the language. I will not utter that here.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a union, though, I mean, this is significant. I mean, again, you're serving all this coffee, and you're paying at if you're at a certain point, and you're not getting any, you're not growing or you're not doing anything of that sort. Guess what? You want to, bargain for benefits, bargain for salaries, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of these folks, I don't know how much a barista makes. I want to say it's probably $20 an hour, maybe. That's just a guess on my part. But it kind of goes to the point where you kind of need to take advantage of this if you're in a union, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right, Johnny? I mean, that would be my
you have
thought
to
process.
the way the unions were designed early on in America is that it was hardworking people that were getting shafted. I don't feel like Starbucks isn't slave labor. You're pouring coffee. You're absolutely. I'm a coffee fanatic. I like certain coffees. I don't like the mocha choca bullshit lattes or whatever those things are. I don't understand them. But like, I understand coffee, and yeah, I mean, to learn your craft, absolutely. And if you have experience, but the one thing I don't like, I'll go back to it, is you just don't just throw up and be like, well, I do this, so I deserve this. No, but earn it before you. And that's what it sounds like the newer unions are like, is, oh, I did what I was supposed to do, so I should be rewarded. And that's not the way work. Like, you have to prove yourself. You have to work hard before you get anything in this world, especially if you're pulling away from a corporate environment, which we've seen Target, even Dairy Queen is giving raises at this point. They're giving livable wages. Like, fast food restaurants are giving livable wages because they're like, oh, we neglected to see the value in the person. That's what the wave of the future is. What they're doing in Starbucks is they're trying to unionize probably at the worst time. Because the corporate environment is realizing they've made the error and they're trying to correct. I'm not saying that everybody is making a great livable wage. This isn't Bernie Sanders 2020. Like, that everybody's not getting everything that they want. But at this time, it seems a little weird that you're unionizing, and that they're unionizing in a negative way, which I don't think is going to work well.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, here we go. Topic number 3 from the weird file. See, I love the third topic because it's always the weird file. It seems to always be the weird file, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
This is Steve's fault.
Yeah, this is 100% Steve's fault, for sure. The FDA clears lab-grown meat for human consumption. For the first time, the Food and Drug Administration has cleared lab-grown meat created from cultured animal cells for human consumption. The FDA green light applies only to chicken products made by Upside Foods, a California-based company founded in 2015. Though in its announcement, the FDA said it is ready to work with other firms that are developing cultured animal cell food. The agency said that it evaluated information submitted by Upside Foods as part of a pre-market consultation, and that it had no further questions at this time about the firm's safety conclusion. Really? I have a lot of questions. One is, why are we growing lab-grown meat? What is going on here? John, what is happening?
I actually want to throw this over to Steve because Steve had the... Steve, give the rant that you gave when we first were talking about this, because this is... No, you're right. You're absolutely right. So just set the stage, and then we'll go from there.
I don't think it was a rant.
It was actually like pure logic. That's why I want you to kind of start it off there.
Yeah. If you want to create a sustainable food supply, lab-grown meat solves a lot of problems, which is you can, upscale it to meet demand, theoretically. You can avoid issues of animal cruelty because it's, purely just... So you've got all this kind of going on. It makes a lot of sense. Now, am I going to be one of the first ones to eat this lab-grown meat? Hell no. I'm going to wait until the science is perfected. Exactly. And I know, A, it's going to taste good. B, I'm not going to grow a third head. Or C, that some other bad thing is going to go into it. So I will wait to see how it develops. But this is a good first step for sure.
Yeah. For our TikTok overlords, I just want to make this clear. It was the person to my right, my brother on the right-hand side over here, that said that last comment. It wasn't me, so I'm not going to get flagged for a community guidelines violation. Anyway.
What did I say?
Well, you said you're not going to throw a third head. You know, I mean, come on. All these things are tested by the Food and Drug Administration. I don't want to be involved in any misinformation anymore.
I'll be the one that gets guidelines. Okay. So what Steve is trying to say is two noobs as a whole will not try this meat until at least a fourth zombie apocalypse. Once we've installed Steve as president and myself as vice president and Matt as our advisor, and we have a large army that is controlling most of the compound in Abington, yes, then we'll start trying your meat. But until then, we don't need to talk about it.
I think you're more missing the point of how I said it was a third head.
Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe. But it's interesting.
You want to see him second one.
Meat and dairy alone are responsible for 60% of agricultural's greenhouse gas emissions, according to the United Nations. Grain of salt. Take that with a grain of salt.
Which has been fought a ton by other sides. It's a 50-50 split of scientists.
It is.
In that. I read an article earlier today, 2019. It's split right down the middle.
But while proponents of cultivated meat point to its environmental benefits by cutting greenhouse gas emissions, Jens, some experts are still debating whether large-scale cultured meat industries may exacerbate climate change by contributing to carbon pollution. So there you go.
It's a valid concern.
That is a valid concern. That is an absolute valid concern.
Absolutely, yeah. And, I mean, again, also to Steve's point that he raised, the spokesperson from Upside, this California-based firm that's making all this lab-grown meat, added that in addition to eliminating the need to raise and slaughter billions of animals, cultivated meat is projected to use substantially less water and land than farmed meat, and producing meat in a controlled environment may reduce the risk of harmful bacteria contamination, which is a legit concern, obviously. Yeah,
absolutely.
When it comes to chickens and
where do you think the E. coli comes from?
Oh yeah,
in the beef. It's because the animals are wandering around in their own filth. You know, it can contaminate the meat. If you don't have animals and their filth, and you just have the meat, you're going to substantially reduce the amount of E. coli that's going to come out of that.
Exactly.
So.
Right. Exactly right. And that is a great benefit, no question about it. But again, also a very valid concern. This is lab-grown meat, which I am not a big fan about. So I'm like Steve, I'm holding on my reservations on getting a lab-cultivated chicken.
Let me also, the way they're doing this, it sounds like it's actual meat too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not the Frankenstein weirdo veggie meat.
No, it isn't at all. Yeah.
I would eat lab-grown meat before the what's not a meat, veggie burger bullshit.
Beyond burger.
The Beyond Burger.
Dog food, basically.
Which
basically dog food.
Will grow you a third head. Yes, I said it. TikTok can flag me for that one.
What this process is actually doing is taking it back to what we should as a culture go back to is everybody had land, everybody had animals, everybody was doing their own slaughtering, their own growing, the babies, this cow would have a baby that blah 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 blah. That's what they're kind of trying to work back to, is they're trying to not have these mass farms, because that's what's scary. Is they
want John slaughtering his own cow babies. That's right.
Basically, over and over. Like everybody, like you slaughtering your own cow baby, him slaughtering, and they want. That's what they're trying to get back to, because that's so. It wasn't. They didn't have to travel meat. Like it wasn't packed up in a truck for 4 days. It wasn't used this and that, and the emissions of the trucks that are going across the country. It used to not be that way. It was that, you would trade locally in your town, and one person would have this and everybody would be fed. That's kind of the design to eliminate the global move of all this, because you had these large farms that we know from many documentaries are poisoning towns and other farms. Like, they can't even have organic farms within like 40 miles of regular farms because the soil just gets ruined. It's crazy how this big farm. Everything big. We know everything big goes bad. And that's what I think they're trying to fight against. This is the start. Yeah. It's definitely not the end.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a valid concern to your point, John. I mean, the chicken farms are notoriously bad for E. coli, all kinds of bacteria. And if there's any way that you could try and reduce that in the population, all for it,
Absolutely.
Right, Jens? I mean, that's really at the end of the day what we're after.
Well, to John's point about the trucks, you have to use the trucks because cities, for example, aren't near farms, and so you have to get from the farm to the city. If you grow lab meat in a city setting, then you're not going to have to transport it as far. I mean, that's true. John is slaughtering cow babies. John is slaughtering cow babies. John is slaughtering cow babies because they taste real good.
It's funny because the Blue's Clues movie just is premiering on Peacock, or no, not Peacock, Paramount Plus. I learned that during the Eagles game today.
Oh, there you go. Too funny. Well, Steve, of course, being in the middle, here we go with topic number 4, right? I mean, we've got now. Why don't you go ahead and just launch in? What do we got?
All right. So with this week, last week we did the Phillies 40-year roster where we filled out a complete 26 man, I guess, because we had a DH.
26 man.
Of players from the last 40 years who we wanted starting in the field, we wanted on our bench. This week we're going to do the Eagles, but we're going to split it in 2 because 53-man rosters on NFL teams are large.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't want to take up too much time. So this week we're going to do the defense as well as your special teamers with kicker, punter, long snapper. The criteria are the same as we did for the 64-man tournament, which are you got to have played at least 3 years in the city, put up some good stats, fan favorites, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to do, since the Eagles have traditionally been a 4-3 defense, we will have a 4-man defensive line with a linebacking core of 3 players.
There you go.
So we're going to pick our starters, so that'll be 11 defenders. And we will pick, rather than monkey around with a 53-man roster and pick all kinds of positions, we're just going to pick the same number of backups for it. So you'll have 11 backup defenders. And then we will also pick a kicker, punter, and long snapper. No backups there because, according to Mr. Holzerman, Tom, kickers don't have rights, and that's going to apply
exactly
to kickers, punters, and long snappers.
Wow. Okay. Didn't realize that was a rule, but anyway.
Good job, Tom.
All right.
You're doing well in your non-liberal crusade.
So here we go. Why don't we defensive end, right, gents?
Yeah, start defensive end.
Let's do it. So we've got 6. Reggie, of course, Clyde Simmons, Brandon Graham, William Fuller, Hugh Douglas, and Trent Cole. Gentlemen, so I guess we'll start with the starters first on defensive end.
Reggie, duh.
Yeah, I would think Reggie.
I mean, do we really need to talk about that?
Obviously, a legit starter, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the real question is who's on the other side?
Yes.
Yeah.
I vote.
So you got Clyde.
I vote Brandon Graham. For obvious reasons.
Okay. Yep. Super Bowl. Yep. The Super Bowl play, obviously.
And he might be everybody's favorite Eagle. Fights against the media.
making fun of D-Gun all over the place.
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
15,
I mean,
what
it's
is it?
great.
It's 15th year. Like he's been here
Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
He's been here forever.
He came off the field. He came off the field in the double doink game, going, "Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Cody." Yeah, all right. We might as well just do it. BG.
You're going with BG?
I
Okay.
can't- Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else that Hugh Douglas is awesome, but Brandon Graham has taken the Hugh Douglas shtick to a whole nother level and brought us the Super Bowl.
All right, John. I just want to throw
Strip
this
sack
out
on Brady.
here.
Strip sack on Brady.
Strip sack of Brady, you got it. Clyde Simmons in 1992 had 19 sacks
I understand.
in the season.
He could make backup,
Pro
maybe.
Bowler. Good death piece. Yeah, I'm just saying 19 sacks. He also had 1989, he had 15 and a half.
I agree. I feel him as a backup, but I think starting
there you go.
Reggie, the Minister of Defense, and BG just being BG for the last. I don't know.
Yeah.
God, it seems like he's been here my entire life. So
Yeah.
he has more of an eagle run.
I forgot to mention, as we did last week, whoever you pick for your player, you get prime as an Eagle. So their
Exactly.
prime year as an Eagle is what you're getting. In
Yeah,
this
so I am
fantasy land
equating
here.
that. I am equating that for Brandon Graham. His best season was the Super Bowl year, 2017, 9.5 sacks. But he has been consistent: 5.5, 6.5, 8.5, 4, 8, 3. He's been very consistent throughout his entire career. But his best
also-
was 2017.
He was also in an era of rotation where Clyde, Reggie, those guys weren't in a rotation at all. They
Bingo.
were forced
Yeah.
to play
Sure.
as many snaps as they humanly possibly could.
And
Exactly.
beyond the stats, Brandon Graham has a penchant, a la the Tom Brady strip sack, of making big plays at the right moment.
At the right moment.
That
Exactly.
absolutely.
Up until today, like
was-
he made a big play today, like he's still going.
There you go.
Yep.
All right, you convinced me. Brandon Graham on the other side. I love it. Reggie and
All
Brandon.
right, so I guess
Love it.
while we're here, we might as well pick the backups.
Why not?
Yeah, in that case, it would be Clyde.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think
You
you
gotta
get
put
any
Clyde in there.
argument about it. Yeah, I don't think you get any
No.
argument about it.
So then it's William Fuller, Hugh Douglas, and Trent Cole, guys. I mean, what do you think?
I'm a huge Trent Cole fan, but I got to go Hugh Douglas.
You're going Hugh. Okay.
I loved
Okay.
Trent Cole. I wanted Trent Cole to be what Hugh Douglas was or what Brandon Graham was. Like I loved Trent. I thought he was a great player, but I gotta go Hugh
Trent
for the
Cole,
same reasons of Brandon Graham. He's a great backup.
2007 and 2009, each of those 2 years, he had 12.5 sacks, made the Pro Bowl in each two of those 2 years.
Oh, he was a great player, absolutely.
Yeah, he was
But
huge.
I agree with John. Hugh Douglas, if nothing else than locker room
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
presence.
yeah.
You know,
Hugh, by contrast, Hugh in 2000, 15 sacks, 2002, 12.5. 1998, the first year he came over from the Jets to the Eagles, 12.5 sacks. So I would go Hugh on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest
All
with
right, so we're going Clyde and Hugh, right?
Yeah,
Clyde
Hughes
and Hugh,
backups.
yeah. Mhm.
Hugh was
Right.
he was the perfect player for Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
He
Yeah,
was
he
the
really
perfect
was.
player. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with
All
that
right,
completely.
D tackle, gentlemen.
Ooh.
Two of them because we're a 4-3.
So D tackles
Yikes.
are Corey Simon, Fletcher Cox, Jerome Brown, Hollis Thomas, and Darwin Walker. So one of these hosts on our Steam podcast said that Mr. Fletcher Cox is the template. So I think if we're going to go with that logic, I would agree.
I think
Fletcher Cox is in.
He's everything those guys embodied and more. He wasn't the template. The template started years ago, but he's the best of that lot. So he absolutely starts at one side.
10.5
Now
sacks in 2018, by the way, for him. His best year.
Yeah, but he's not all about the sacks. I mean, that's
No. He's also he's a phenomenal run defender,
Heck yeah. In his prime.
which you
for sure.
don't get normally. from a defensive tackle, a pass rusher that can run defend. That's literally Jerome Brown territory.
Speaking of him, I vote for him for the other starter.
I absolutely do, because he was exactly, in a very short amount of time, we learned what I think he was the template that the Eagles have always looked at is I need to find that guy, and I think Fletcher is the closest that has ever gotten to him. Just a great run defender, absolute pass rusher. At the exact same time, which you don't find that.
So we're going Jerome and Fletch for the two tackles?
Yes.
Okay.
As your starters.
I'm good with that. Yep. So your backups. Yep,
Corey Simon, I think, absolutely is the first one. Because he's the second. He's the second best to Fletch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Then you have either Hollis or Darwin Walker.
Which I don't want to make that decision at all, because I love them both equally. I pick Hollis because of the fan interaction, the fact that he's taken his wonderful career as an Eagle and took it into the media, hangs out with the fans every Sunday. I go there because he is just as much a part of our fandom as a former player. Then and he also was a former player that was great. Darwin Walker was here. He was awesome. But I haven't heard from Darwin Walker since he left.
Yeah, Hollis had an amazing career, really. I mean, he's not double digits in sacks. 98 in terms of sacks. He had the most. He had 5 in his career. But what he does is he causes turnovers. He caused, in his career, 7 forced fumbles. He also recovered 8. So he could get on the ball and get turnovers. He turns the ball over, and not only that, he can recover the football. But the most he ever had in terms of sacks was 5 in that regard. He could tackle. Obviously, combined tackles throughout his career was 384 for his career. 292 solo for a D tackle. That's pretty good. For a D tackle.
He also steamrolled Michael Vick in the NFC
Championship
in 2004. Turned him into a pancake.
Absolutely.
And for that, I vote Hollis as the other backup.
Darwin Walker's stats are probably better than Hollis, but Hollis just is Philly, so he just needs to make it because he is.
Yeah, I would agree. Darwin also didn't really last all that long either. All right, 7.5 sacks, 2002, where he played alongside. I think he played alongside Hollis, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
That makes sense.
Didn't recover that many. Yeah, didn't recover that many fumbles. He only had 5. So yeah, I would agree. I'm leaning Hollis as well. You need that fan interaction. You need that guy that's hilarious and funny too, and he's a good dude. So I'm good with that.
All right. LBs, pounds,
linebackers.
Yikes.
So we've been blessed. Yeah. So let's run through the list. Seth, Byron Evans, William Thomas, Jeremiah Trotter, Connor Barwin, Jordan Hicks, and Carlos Emmons. So
I mean, we're all in agreement. Seth and Trot absolutely are starting, right?
Hell
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm getting a prime Seth. I was almost going to say Seth Rollins. Seth Joyner in that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And the Axeman, the Axeman cometh? Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Prime Axeman, yeah.
And to be honest with you, a prime Willie T probably fills that out. William Thomas prime at that other linebacker was far beyond something we've seen. Yeah.
Going to see about his stats here.
I give him the weak side linebacker.
Yeah, I mean,
probably go for that.
You got 18 interceptions in his career. He had, in 1995, he had 7 interceptions, gents. 1 return for a
He's a linebacker.
He was good.
Yeah, a linebacker.
He had speed.
That probably was his prime year, right there.
Yeah, he was a coverage linebacker at the same time as a blitzing linebacker and a run linebacker on that weak side. Like, he could do it all, which we don't see nowadays. We see changeouts. He was one of the last of the Mohicans that could do all three. He was a 4-down linebacker.
Yeah. So yeah, I would completely agree, and especially if you got, and then you would put Seth on the strong side, and he could just,
are you kidding me?
Not just hit people, but annihilate them. Yeah, annihilate people. So yeah,
you ain't running
Seth,
on
Willie
that side, and you're not running on Willie T's side. So where are you running? You're not definitely running on Trott's side.
Yeah, exactly.
That would give Trott. He would have to move 2 spaces. Jeremiah Trotter was pretty good sideline to sideline. Could you imagine if you only had Jeremiah Trotter playing between Seth and Willie T? It would crazy. It would break him down to be probably the best middle linebacker that ever played.
Yeah,
you cut the field in half.
Thoughts on your on this linebacking core here? I mean, it seems like we're pretty set with the starters.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, Seth, Trott, and Willie T. I'm buying it.
Willie T. Yeah.
Yep.
Backups.
Byron Evans, absolutely at the middle linebacker, because he was,
Yeah.
He was the best.
I would say he's
Trott.
got to be right up there.
Yeah.
Definitely before the broken leg. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He never made the Pro Bowl, I don't think.
Byron,
correct on that.
Which is crazy on that defense, because he was a big part of the defense.
Well, yeah, they took so many from that defense. They're like, well, we can't give them everybody.
That might have been the only one. Like, I at least could find 2 guys kind of better than him, so he can.
184 combined tackles in 1989. In 1989,
that is
age 25. Crazy. Just tragically got cut short from the injury there. The others, Connor Barwin, Jordan Hicks, and Carlos Emmons. Here's where it's getting a little thin, but still some decent players. Jordan Hicks, of course, Super Bowl champion, but right? I mean,
I picked Barwin over. I picked Barwin over those 3 as Seth's backup.
Okay,
I would agree.
Same position, played really well.
Yep.
Yeah, and Hicks and Emmons played the backup to Willie T, so it's just kind of between Hicks and Emmons. I think Emmons was a better player, but Hicks won us a championship. So
I'm going with Emmons.
I think I would go with Emmons too. Emmons was far better player.
I was just going to say, Connor Barwin had 14 and a half sacks. That's crazy, coming off that edge on the wide 9. Of course.
No, he was really good on the right side. Yeah.
Carlos Emmons had 19 sacks for his career, just to give you an idea there. But a decent linebacker, 4-year career, to have a defensive score for a touchdown in 2002, 3.5 sacks, in a team that went to the NFC Championship game. So there you go. I mean, he was
covered
really good,
and covered every tight end that those 4 years. Every tight end.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Here we go with cornerback. You ready?
This is going to get
gents.
This is going to be interesting.
Very much so. Yeah, Steve with a great list.
We all have
Eric Allen. Yeah, Eric Allen, Lido Shepard, Sheldon Brown, Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, and Asante Samuel. So, Steve, going to go to you. Your starting cornerbacks from that illustrious list, and that is an illustrious list, by the way.
Yeah, we've been blessed with some good corners over the years.
No doubt.
I think Eric Allen has to be on it. He's still not in the Hall of Fame, is he, Eric Allen?
Yeah, which
he
makes
is not,
no sense.
and that's a crying shame.
No,
yeah, that is an absolute crying shame. Played forever.
So Eric Allen's got to be one. Yeah.
I mean, he was defensive.
And prime Eric Allen too. Whew.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And which year do you want? I mean, 93, he had 4 defensive scores. 4 defensive touchdowns. Just crazy.
He was the prototypical shutdown corner before Deion Sanders made shutdown corner famous.
Yep.
He was one of the beginnings to that. Like, you didn't hear about cornerbacks before him.
8 interceptions in 1989, just to give you an idea. His first Pro Bowl.
Oh yeah,
He had 8 interceptions for the Eagles on a bad Eagles team. Really? Well,
I gotta vote Troy Vincent on the other side, because I don't think you could find a better corner or a better human or a fan favorite there. He was coming from Miami. He solidified before
that he did.
Before I run on quarter.
That he did.
He's one of my favorite of all time.
First big signing that the Eagles had on defense. 7 interceptions in 99. It was his first Pro Bowl. So that would be who we would be getting. Would be a 99 Troy Vincent. By far his best performance. 7 interceptions.
I could dig Troy Vincent as opposite Eric Allen for sure.
There you go.
I think
there
so.
you go.
I think so.
I have no issues with that. Backups. Do we go Lito Sheldon? I mean,
here's what it would be. Lito and Sheldon, I think you could keep together as the backups because they played so well together.
Oh yeah,
I love Asante Samuel. I love Asante Samuel. He's a ball hawk and phenomenal player, and I love Bobby Taylor because he used to smack Michael Irvin around.
Yes,
but Lito and Sheldon, I think you have to. It's one of those things like you can't have one without the other.
Hey, no, you're absolutely right.
2 of them.
Just think about this. Let me paint you a little picture of that. Dime coverage, you've got those 2 roving the middle. And then when you need spell time, you've got those 2 roving the outside, which they could do all day long. Come on, he knocked Reggie Bush into the next millennia. And Lito Shepherd played with in every Dallas game ever, and all he did was shine.
Yeah.
So he has to be on that team.
He had a brilliant interception return for a touchdown. Maybe we could find that and throw that up there for Glenn's viewing pleasure. Why don't we do it that way? Just throw that highlight.
He always shined on the biggest stages. Lito was always there.
Yeah, huge, absolutely.
All right, safety's going to get even more weird here.
Ooh, indeed, because again, like cornerback, we have been blessed with amazing safeties.
Yes.
I think I got it though. I think I got it. Let me just go. I'll throw it out there and we can argue this. So B-Doc's number 1 free safety, easy peasy.
I can't imagine him not being on this team.
Malcolm's got to be his backup, right? Malcolm's got to be his backup.
We got strong and free safety. We got strong and free safety here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could have Malcolm in there.
Andre Waters is top strong safety, and Rodney McLeod goes his backup. That's how I feel.
So you also have Wes Hopkins in there. Yeah. Wes Hopkins and Mike
I have love for all of them. I'm just saying, you've got Andre Waters was the best safety we ever had before Brian Dawkins. Brian Dawkins was the best safety we ever had. Malcolm Jenkins was our Super Bowl champion and our literal blueprint for the rest of our lives. I think we're going to see Malcolm Jenkins type free safeties. We're seeing it right now with Epps.
Yeah.
Like they're all they're doing is, you got that body frame, you got that ability, you got that brains. Go. Like they've taken Brian Dawkins and just duplicated him over and over again. Not as the level of Brian Dawkins, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing, I think they took what Rodney McLeod taught them, what we already knew from Andre Waters, hard hitting, can drive you to the sidelines, can hurt you, can cover a tight end if needed, blah, 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 blah. I think those 4, I immediately think as they're the safeties that I think of.
I'm good with Dawkins and Waters starting. And Jenkins is back up to B-Doc.
Okay.
Nat, I'm curious to hear what you have for the other backup position.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm sold on Rodney McLeod as a backup.
No, and I agree. I totally understand that. Like that you could.
Yeah,
Hopkins was a free safety, and Zordich was a strong safety. So is Zordich was he a better player than Rodney McLeod? I would tend to think yes.
it's interesting here because you've got McLeod in 2017. I'm going to call that was his best year, and it's only by a scant 2017, he had 3 interceptions. One of them was along the 50. He had a forced fumble. He didn't really do all that much in terms of pressuring the quarterback. He only had 2 sacks. He only has 2 sacks in his entire career. Ironically, they both came from us in his career. Hard hitter, absolutely. More than anything else. I'm trying to think. He had 83 combined tackles in 2016. He had 54.
Well, my point on that is, I love Rodney McLeod. I thought he did a good job here. But was there ever like a play that you can think back to where it's like, Rodney McLeod made an unbelievable play there? Like Dawkins, Waters, and Jenkins, you can think of plays they made, like huge plays they made. And Rodney McLeod doesn't have one of those.
No,
it kind of really comes down to...
Does Mike Zordich
Mike Zordich?
I think so. I could probably
think Zordich...
I could think of probably more plays.
Zordich in 1995 did have a defensive touchdown. And I think I remember that. I think it might have been against Arizona or I don't think it was Dallas.
Better brain than I.
It was a fumble return for a score. But yeah, I mean, and he was it was almost like he was the tail end of his career. He was Jets and Phoenix.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so he was here for 5 years. But it was a really good free safety back in the day. Wes Hopkins. Good, Johnny. What were we going to say?
That's similar to Rodney McLeod's career. Wes is really the only homegrown guy on the list, so he might just make the list because he's the only homegrown guy.
Played his entire career with the Eagles from 83 to 93. He was out in 87. He missed for 1 year. He only played 4 games in 86, so he got hurt, and then that's probably an ACL. So that's probably like, you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
He's out for the rest of 86, all of 87, and now he's coming back in 88. He didn't miss a beat. He was pretty much sacks. He had 12, but he had 3.5 in 1989, and that was, again, another really good team. 91, the best Eagles defensive team. He had 2 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, 5 interceptions. So I would say you'd have a 91 Wes Hopkins out there.
I would agree with that.
And that's pretty good.
Let's take Wes in
this
that
guy was
spot.
This guy was pretty average, in terms of like averaging 5 interceptions, for a season.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I would be on with that. So yeah. So Dawkins, Waters, Jenkins, Hopkins. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Gotta love that.
Pretty good safeties. Yeah. All right.
Kicker.
This is hard.
Get one.
Yeah.
This is hard.
Yeah. This is the hard.
This is David Akers or Jake Elliott. I mean, one kicked us a Super Bowl championship. The other has been around forever. Yes. Yeah.
I gotta go David Akers because one of my family members owned a David Akers jersey. And that's at the level he was that you were selling jerseys to people. I don't think I know anybody with a Jake Elliott jersey, even though, God, he has a leg, still to this day, he has the leg. But Akers was the anti-Vinatieri in the time that Vinatieri was the top kicker in the league.
Yeah.
We had a kicker that could do the same things that the Death Star had when they were doing automatic Vinatieri. We had a dude that could do the same stuff.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Steve,
so I go David Akers.
There? Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
It's tough because Elliott did hit that 63-yarder to really kickstart everything.
Yeah.
I agree with John. Akers he was here forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was a mark of consistency.
He sure was.
I would pick Akers.
Not to mention a great human being, by the way, too. I met him in person.
For sure. Absolutely.
Valley Forge breakfast, prayer breakfast. He was great. He was fantastic. Great guy, great dude. Passionate human being, as you can imagine. But yeah, I would lean Akers. I think Elliott's field goal was amazing and really kickstarted the entire Super Bowl run. But really, outside of that, the consistency is what I remember the most about Akers by far. I mean, it's just every year, 90% or more in his kicking. So, I can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
All right, then, punter. And don't laugh out there, people. A good punter can flip field position.
There are people too, critical.
Baby. We saw it in the Eagles-Colts game today. If you wanna go back to where we're recording this, their kicker was netting 50 to 59 yards, other than the one touchback he had. Our kicker was not. So Indianapolis
punter.
Our punter was doing that. Was not doing well. What you were getting was field position. The Colts kept getting short fields, and the Eagles were playing long field all day.
There you go.
It can happen very quickly. That's why this list is amazing, because Donnie Jones, Jeff Eagles, and Sean Landeta were very important.
You're also throwing in Sav Rocca. Sav Rocca
was awesome, but he only gets the nod because when he got knocked out, he was like, "I got hit harder," and that makes me love him.
For me,
he was a character.
He was an extra special teamer to me. Like, he was not only the punter, he was an extra special teamer.
Special teamer.
That's why I liked him. He probably wasn't the best punter we've ever had, but he's like Hollis Thomas. He was definitely like the man at the time.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, though, gents, Donnie Jones. I think, because you get the versatility of him holding the ball for Akers and punter on the championship team. That would be my guess. And a consistent guy, too.
Take his pants off, too.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Really did.
I'll go with that. Jones.
Yeah, I'm a Don. Sean Landeta was awesome, but Sean Landeta didn't have his career here. He was just a veteran guy that came here. Wasn't an Eagle. I remember Sean Landeta when he played for the Rams and when he played for the 9,000 other teams he played for. But homegrown Philly, Donnie Jones, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Finally, to wrap it up, the long snapper, which if you think this isn't important, years ago, I remember watching the Giants 49ers playoff game.
Yeah.
The Giants long snapper was injured, so they had to bring in this guy to do it. And he flubbed it on what could have been a potential game-winning field goal at the end of the game, cost the Giants playoff game.
I'll give you the same thing. Of my pick, John Dorenbos was out for a game, and Chad Lewis had to do it. And David Akers literally said after the game, Chad Lewis did a good job, but he said, I could tell the difference of the velocity of the ball to his timing. That's what that's why I picked John Dorenbos, because think about that. Like, your kicker after a game where he gets injured and leaves says the velocity was that much off. His job is to kick footballs, right?
Makes a huge difference. Yeah. The other two were Rick Lovato and Mike Bartram on this list, gentlemen.
Rick Lovato, Super Bowl winning long snapper.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think
could he do magic? No. Dorenbos.
No, absolutely.
Dorenbos. Yeah, I would agree with that too. So we got another great list, Jen. So go flash up our starters first. And then later on, you'll see the backups in that regard. And then, of course, we're going to have our kicker and punter and long snapper. So, we're on our way, gents, for the starters. What do you think?
I like this team so far.
So far. Can't wait to do the offense next week. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Should be a lot of fun.
To choose from.
Yeah. Well, and, of course, that brings the end of our episode 112 of Two Noobs Talking.
Matt only had 14 lies in this episode.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully the TikTok overlords will love this episode. Love it. In that regard. But as always, gents, it's great to be able to sit and talk with you about the news of the day. And with that being said, let's head to our shameless plugs. John, where can people find us out there?
Oh, we are all over the place and getting love. So look for us on TikTok, Clapper, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook Reels, And they'll just give you short video and also YouTube Shorts, and that will give us short videos that will hopefully, without markings, bring you back to our YouTube channel.
Heck yeah. Our handle is at 2Noobs Talking. Of course, I would like it if you like, share, subscribe to our channel, and get notified when our episodes drop Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have a website. We're going to flash up the address here on screen. We are looking to try and shorten the address a little bit, but yeah, that's an understatement. But in that regard, though, we hope you do get a chance to check it out. Links to all of our episodes are listed there, as well as little bios about who we all are individually. So there you go. Audibly, where can people listen to us, Steve?
Well, if you want to listen to us so you don't have to look at Matt's lying face or John's man boobs, you can go to Podbean, which spreads us out all over the interwebs to places like Google Podcast, Samsung Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Glenn, Spotify, Podchaser, Podracer, Podshaker, Podmaker,
If it
Amazon
has,
Music Pin. Those are the other two I couldn't remember while I was
There you go.
stalling for
if it
time.
has pod in front of it, you'll find us. We're Googleable, just so you know.
There you go. Was it TWO or TOO that they can find
It
us,
doesn't
right?
matter.
Something like that?
You'll find us.
Doesn't matter?
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
You'll find
matter.
us. It doesn't matter. You'll find
Well,
us.
That's it, gents. Episode 112 is in the can. It's on to episode 113 next week. Hey, have a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there.
Yes.
Be
Oh,
safe.
yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's to my two hosts and two good friends, too. So
Oh, absolutely.
happy Thanksgiving to both of you. All right. Talk to you all next week. Take care.